If you met the worst person in history, you'd probably think they were harmless. Evil doesn't announce itself, and while we like to believe monsters are rare, history proves they're everywhere. But the real shock, the names you know are just the surface. For every infamous tyrant, there's another who committed crimes too vast or too forgotten to fit in textbooks. So today, we're digging deeper. These are the 100 levels of the worst people in history. Our journey down the ladder of evil starts with a man who treated the Roman Empire like his personal sandbox. The year is 37 CE. Rome isn't at its height, it's fragile. After years of Tiberius's cruelty, the people finally believe they found salvation in the young, smiling Caligula. But within months, that joy begins to rot. Caligula spends fortunes on games and temples to himself, declaring that he's not merely emperor, but a god in human form. By the time his own guards finally kill him, Rome has learned something terrible. Power doesn't always corrupt slowly. Sometimes it snaps all at once. So despite ruling for just 4 years, Caligula proved that evil doesn't need purpose, only opportunity. And to find the worst people in history, we'll have to think much bigger than one mad emperor. So, let's move on to our next contender. The year is 1492, and Christopher Columbus sets sail to find a shortcut to Asia. Instead, he discovers millions of people already living there, and decides they don't count. His voyage kicks off centuries of slavery, disease, and genocide, all while getting him statues, holidays, and a brand deal with every elementary school textbook. He promised to find gold, but found people instead, and somehow decided they were the same thing. And if you think that was bad, wait until we meet the man who turned murder into interior decorating. Welcome to 15th century Wallachia, a place where the scenery is beautiful, the politics are lethal, and the guy in charge decorates like he's running a medieval spirit Halloween. Meet Vlad III, Prince of Wallachia. History knows him by a different name, Vlad the Impaler, and spoiler, he earns it. The year is 1456. Europe is fractured. The Ottoman Empire is expanding and Wallachia sits right in the blast radius. Everyone wants this land. Everyone wants this throne. Everyone wants Vlad dead. And Vlad wants stakes. Lots of them. He doesn't build wealth, armies, or monuments. He builds warnings. Whole forest of them. And when invaders march toward his capital, they don't find an army waiting. They find 20,000 bodies. But here's the craziest part. The terror works. For a brief moment, Wallachia becomes the safest and most disturbingly quiet place in Europe. By the time he's killed, Vlad leaves behind a legacy that's half folklore, half horror film, and entirely unforgettable. So, let's move on to our next contender. In 1894, Joseph Stalin was a nobody. He was born into poverty, kicked out of school, and failed his first attempt at becoming a priest. Naturally, he pivoted to armed robbery, bank heists, and revolutionary terrorism. While other revolutionaries gave speeches, Stalin kept notes. After Lenin died in 1924, he became the man who decided who got promoted, who got food, and who got erased from photographs. That was when the killing became industrial. In Ukraine alone, millions died in a man-made famine. Then came the purges. If you existed long enough, you eventually existed suspiciously. At his peak, Stalin ruled an empire spanning 11 time zones, commanded the largest military on Earth, and controlled the lives of hundreds of millions. By the end of his rule, an estimated 20 million people were dead, and somehow we are still only halfway down the list. In 1909, Hitler was a broke artist in Vienna, getting rejected from art school and blaming the world for his mediocrity. After surviving World War I, Hitler realized he had a hidden talent, yelling at people until they agreed with him. So he tried to forcefully overthrow the government in 1923, failed, and went to prison. Most people come out of prison trying to reform. Hitler wrote Mein Kampf. The book wasn't an instant smash hit, but as Germany's economy collapsed, his book grew in popularity. By 1933, he was Chancellor, and he immediately used the Enabling Act to essentially delete the Constitution. This is where the evil really scales up. Being a dictator wasn't enough. He obsessed over a master race. He diverted massive amounts of money, trains and manpower away from the actual war effort just to keep his concentration camps running efficiently. He authorized the systemic slaughter of 6 million Jews. In the end, his 1,000-year Reich lasted about a decade and left Europe in ruins. So, for mechanizing hatred and treating the Geneva Convention like a to-do list, Hitler easily secures his place as one of history's ultimate antagonists. Next on the list is Mao Zedong, the man who simply killed the most people in history. In 1958, Mao launched the Great Leap Forward, a strategy that involved telling farmers to stop farming and start melting their cooking pots to make steel. He even declared war on nature itself, ordering the extermination of sparrows, which caused a locust plague and the deadliest famine in human history, starving up to 55 million people while he refused to admit he was wrong. When his popularity tanked, he doubled down with the Cultural Revolution. He weaponized teenage angst, encouraging students to beat up their teachers, burn libraries, and destroy anything old in a paranoid rage. So, for killing more of his own citizens than any invading army ever could, Mao secures his spot as one of history's most evil. So, who was the worst person in history? We've looked at the architects of genocide, the tyrants who traded millions of lives for power, and the individuals whose cruelty seemed to have no limit. But as we've seen, the worst is a moving target. Is it measured by the sheer number of victims, by the intent behind the act, or by the lasting scars left on the human psyche? Perhaps the reason we can't find a definitive answer is that history isn't a competition. It's a warning. The most unsettling truth might not be the existence of these individuals, but the fact that they were human. Because if we only look for evil in the past, we might miss it when it starts to take root in the present.